Hi, everyone. Welcome to Second Wind Women. I'm here today with Cori Mica. Cori is the founder of Calm Within Swim. Mm, it is an adult swim school where she helps adults overcome their fear of water through a structured, mindset first approach. You can learn more at her website.
Adultswimlesson.com is the website.
Oh, so you teach swim lessons online?
We do teach swim
I
lessons
did not
online.
get that when we talked before. Tell me more.
Yeah, back in what feels like forever ago now, back in 2029, I decided, put our stuff online because we have people who fly in for our program because they're what how we teach is very unique and special. And so we'd get people who come in from all over the place. So people would always ask, "Do you teach here or do you teach there?" And I'm like, "I'd love to teach in all the places, can't." Well, so online teaching, right? That's the way you can do it. So I thought this needs to be accessible to more people. So I kind of on a whim put it out as, online courses and was unsure, was that going to work? But amazingly, because we're talking about adults, right? They are self-motivated and I'm curious. And so you can take the information and go to a public pool and do it step by step. And we're giving people information that is so small and granular and filling in missing pieces that when they take traditional swimming lessons, they're like, why is everything going so fast? I just talked to a woman yesterday and she's like, I'm in the beginning class, but everybody already seems to know how to swim. Like something seems wrong. I don't feel like
Mhm.
I'm in the right place. And so we answer those questions and ultimately everybody's their own teacher, and so having the right like steps to go in and experiment and get out of the old patterns of swimming is front crawl and working really hard. Like there's a lot of myths about what swimming
Mhm.
is. And so we break that down. And so people are quite successful doing it online. So it kind of blew me out of the water that it works, but it does. And I have, yeah, students all over the planet now who can learn to swim with us, which is really fun.
Oh my gosh, that's so amazing. I was gonna ask, like, do people bring their laptop to the side of the pool? Like?
When I very first did it, I put my laptop on a kickboard and floated it in the pool and took a picture of it, right? Like, you have to have some catchy picture, right? So, yeah.
My gosh, that is a catchy picture. Wow, okay. So how do people I guess people find you online, but how do people hear about your program? It's such a I never in a million years would have thought that that was a possible thing to teach swimming lessons online.
Well, I mean, kind of what tickled my idea on it, there were several things, but one of the things, you think when people have a how-to question, how do I do this physical thing? Generally speaking, people go to YouTube, right? And so there's all
Right.
kinds of tutorials there. So that's when I really started our YouTube channel. Um, and because there's all kinds people go there all the time for learn to swim tips or other,
Mhm.
how-to things. And so that's really our kind of primary place, social place is to put out, short how-tos on there. And so that's how people by and large on the national or international platform
Right.
have found us is, how to keep water out of my nose. How do I see underwater? How do I tread water? Which everybody thinks is a beginning thing, and it's really, a much later thing. So,
Yeah, okay. Wow. Alright. Yeah, I remember when I took swimming lessons as a kid, and I remember when they had us go in the water with our clothes on, and we had to take off our jeans and tie them up and blow them up like a balloon. But I guess if you'd never done a swimming class, you wouldn't know that that was even a possibility, right? That's
you wouldn't know
interesting.
that's a possibility. And I always wonder about that. I mean, I've taught that, I've done that. I'm like, does anybody actually do that in reality? I don't know.
I mean, if you don't have anything to help you float and jeans are heavy, right? I
I
don't know
think
how long they'd hold water being wet. I don't know.
cold air. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I meant. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. No, you do have to, I mean, even when you do those in the pool as simulation, you do have to refill them.
You do.
Yeah, I mean, I think the thing that it does teach is it teaches a certain amount of presence and slowing down. Like, if you really were in a situation like that, I mean, that's really what people need. They need to be able, if you're fell off the boat and I got to wait hours and hours and hours for somebody to come back and get me. the biggest thing that you need is calm presence. And yeah, that's the biggest thing that you need. So I think, yeah, being able to do the challenge of tying up your clothes while you're floating and not getting yourself overtired doing it and being able to slow down in the process of doing it, I think that's the essential lesson that people get when they learn that how to do that. It's less about actually floating on your clothes.
Yeah. Yeah. So do you have a lot of people who seek you out? Like, we're recording this on January 7th. Do you have a lot of people who seek you out at the beginning of the year because they're like, this is the year I'm going to learn either how to swim or how not to be afraid of the water?
Yeah, absolutely. Our January classes are full, which is amazing. We're in Seattle and we actually teach outside, but they're full and those brave souls come out. The water's 94 degrees, so the water's totally fine. It's the
Amazing.
getting out afterwards that's a little chilly.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, it's a it provides a little wonderful drop of tropicalness in the middle of winter. So
Yeah.
yes,
Totally.
absolutely. Yeah, people. Yeah,
So, how common is it for people to be afraid of water?
that's a great question that I love to talk about because it's actually super common. Over half of adults don't know how to swim or are afraid in deep water, oceans, and lakes. I always tell my adult students who do come out that they're very special because, right, that like, oh, they have this thing, they know what it is, and they're willing to do something about it because once they learn how to swim, then they go to places and they start to look around with a more careful eye and they're like, I just assumed that all these people could swim. But yeah, why do all those people have dry hair? And why are there more people sitting on the sidelines than actually in the water? Right? We love being on and around the water, but more people don't know how to swim than do know how to swim.
That's fascinating. Wow. Wow. Yeah. Yeah, I have a friend who's from Central Asia and nobody there knows how to swim because the only, you know, from kind of a wild area because the only real water they have is rivers and that's not a good place to learn how to swim.
Right. Yes. Yeah. No, I do. Yeah. We have students who come from India, and I've heard several times about learning to swim in a well. And I'm like, that sounds like a terrible idea. I think it's a different kind of well than I think about here in the US, where I just
Might be
remember
like a
when I
big
was,
square thing. Yeah.
yes, like, and stories of children falling into wells and things like that. I think they're more like ponds, but what
Mm.
we would call a pond here.
Or a
But
cistern maybe. Yeah.
yeah, something like that, but oftentimes have these straight sides
My gosh,
and
that's
are deep.
scary.
Yeah. No, so it's understandable, and I think I also say parents have two kind of very loving choices around teaching their children to swim. One is to teach them to be afraid, because if you're afraid, then you're never gonna get in and you're never gonna drown, and so when you're talking about places where the water you have very variable water, right? Rivers or ponds or animals in them, or currents and that sort of thing. Teaching somebody to be afraid so they don't go in, it's not really it's not a bad strategy.
Yeah, yeah, that's what I was gonna say, it's a strategy.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's not a bad strategy, so I don't blame people or want people to feel badly about
Mhm.
that being the strategy that they have. And the other one is that, parents will like push their kids into learning to swim. And so we see that too. And for some people that's successful and some people um that is not successful.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I remember as our previous lead-in conversation, I remember getting up and going to the swimming pool at, like, 6:30 or 7 in the morning as a kid in the cold summer mornings being like, "Oh, why do I have to do this?" You
Mm.
but now I know how to swim. But I am afraid of the ocean, for sure, and partially, I think because I live in a land like many, many people do, live in a landlocked area. All that around here are big lakes, and lakes are dirty and gross, and I'm not a big fan of jumping in lakes. Swimming pool's fine, but the ocean, like, I went to Mexico a few years ago, and I was walking on the beach, and the ocean just picked me up, flipped me upside down, just like that, and I was like, "Oh, shit, this is some major power happening here," and I think it's, like, kind of the fear of the unknown, which is different than being afraid of, like, a bathtub, right? So, different levels of being afraid of water, some reasonable, some less.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
For sure. I mean, and to be fair to the person who is afraid in a bathtub. Generally, I don't think people are afraid of the bath, but putting their face in the water, it's an environment that you can't breathe
Right.
when your face is in the water. So it makes sense. It's biological, right? And I just offer for people to have a lot of kindness and compassion when
Mhm.
they come up against the feeling of fear. Because anytime we sort of diminish that, it doesn't give us opportunity to understand it and help it unfold. It's there for a reason and a purpose. And can we be curious with it? Can we see which pieces are still needed and which pieces are not needed? That kind of things. We want to just and like you say, for the ocean, for open water, people are much more willing to say, "Yeah, it's a good idea." But that's the place too to say, I'm open water swimmer. I swim in lakes and oceans and things, but I don't just hop in anywhere, anytime. I learn about it. I investigate it. I
Yeah.
use that sense of fear to help me know, is this the right place and the right time and situation for me to be swimming in?
Yeah, and this is really why I wanted to talk with you, because of your focus on, teaching adults how to deal with fear and how to use it effectively as a tool. And that's kind of what we're getting into here about making decisions about you don't know what you don't know. And to just say that all fear is just gonna hold you back, that's not logical or helpful. It's dangerous.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I think about, myself. I don't have fear of swimming per se. I do use it like I just said as a tool, but for me it's going to the doctor. Like I have a lot of past trauma around body kinds of things, and it shows up with going to medical situations. And so, yeah, I use the same tools to help me engage in the medical field because I do want to engage with the medical field
Right. Right.
in to a certain capacity, but yeah, I don't just like give myself over to it either. So how do I use these same tools to be able to take care of my health without sacrificing my mental health in order to do
Right.
it?
And if you're not paralyzed by fear, then you can do that investigative process, right? If you're paralyzed by fear, then you're not going to ever go to the doctor, right? You're not
Mhm.
ever going to get in the ocean. You're going to be like, oh, toes, maybe.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah. I went to Portugal 2 years ago, and we were on the southern coast of Portugal, and there was this nice beach, and they had little flag. We figured out what the flag meant, and it was a long beach, and I was at the edges. I'm like, oh, that'd be a cool place to swim. And then I noticed how hard the ocean was hitting the rocks, and that there were rocks on that side, on the sides of the beach. And I was like, wait a minute. There's a reason why everybody's towards the middle, even though it's less protected from the wind. Yeah.
Mm. Mhm.
Yeah. But you have to have the motivation, right? You have to have the motivation to look up what doctor you're gonna go to or go down to the beach, right?
Well, the motivation, and I'll go back to the idea of the kind curiosity that you could be standing on the beach saying, especially if you see somebody else out there or something, saying, I should be doing this and just get over
Right.
yourself. And we're very taught in society to be judgmental to ourselves and critical and like, come on, just pick yourself up by the bootstrap kind of
Mhm.
mentality, and it doesn't leave room for you to do exactly what you said, like, "Wait, if I'm kindly curious, I can see there's rocks over there. Not a good idea. This is a better place over here." And yeah, so it really has to do with how we approach it and how we approach our own treating of ourselves.
That's very American. It's like the stereotypical, like, voiceover for the movie, "One man, one mountain," and, you're just out there on the beach and you see this little kid swimming way out there and you're like, "Why can't I do that? That little kid could do that." Right?
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
So how did you get started? How did you decide to open your own swim school? I mean, it's kind of a unique path.
It is a unique path. It's one I think I somewhat stumbled upon in terms of that. It was something teaching swimming, lifeguarding, something I always did, high school, college, the summer job, the typical summer job thing. Started very, very young in terms of it was my way to get out of having to go to summer camp that was really daycare. I'll go volunteer at the pool instead. How can mom make sure that I'm occupied all summer kind of things?
Mhm.
Yeah. And at one point, remember my dad, he just kind of dropped the idea like, why don't you teach swimming for yourself? Like, why don't you teach some private lessons or do your own thing? And I think that nugget sat back in the back of my head.
Mhm.
Went off, did college and that sort of thing. As I was trying to figure out what my grown up life was going to be, I decided, well, give it a try. I have nothing to lose at that point in time. And so we being my now husband and I, we weren't married at the time, but um, it was easier to start a business than a marriage.
Yeah, to start, but yeah, probably equally as hard to maintain.
Exactly. So, anyways, yeah, so we kind of gave it a shot and put our shingle out there, almost literally to putting our shingle in the before the internet days even. So, yeah, so we gave it a whirl. We were working with kids mostly at that time because that's sort of the traditional path. But as I did that, we would get some adults that would come in, and those were the ones who provided curiosity for me. That when you talk about motivation to continue on, my drive to want to learn something interesting and different is what's really kept me in the business all these years. And so it was those adults that I said, nobody's serving them really. And I'm teaching them, but they don't feel like swimmers. Something's not right with the way that I'm teaching them. They're tuning in, but they're still petrified. They still don't feel like swimmers, even though they can do the physical tasks. And so that really built up my curiosity to see, what else do I need to be doing here? I need to be doing something different than just teaching them arms and legs. So
Yeah, so
yeah,
what
then
kind of mindset things do you work on to help people feel like swimmers, whatever that means?
yeah. Well, it was interesting earlier you said use the word paralyzed with fear. And I think this is so good. This is kind of one of the key pieces that we miss is that to paralyzed with fear is a phrase that we use, but it is literally something that happens to our
Yeah.
body, right? I mean, you have a thought. There's a thought that comes in that literally freezes your body. Yeah, so we all know this experience and we have the experience of like butterflies in our stomach or like I've had the experience actually the experience that helped me really unfold my anxiety around medical stuff is I have this feeling of a lump in my throat. I like actually thought there was something wrong, like I must have some cancer or something because there's this feeling of lump in my throat. But it was a physiological reaction, right? So this body mind connection is the piece that is missing in general instruction because general instruction is teaching people do this and that with your arms and your legs and then people
Keep
say
your fingers together.
yeah, why is it I'm not connected? I still feel stiff. They still have somewhere on the spectrum of paralyzed with fear. There's a tenseness to the body
Mhm.
that is still there. So that I'm doing the things correctly, but this body mind connection is what's missing. And so that's the piece that we really start with is it's not just get in and just do it. It's tune into the body and see, is the body ready to get in? Is the
Right,
brain and the body matching up? Your brain saying, go, 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 but your body is frozen. Not time to go yet. It's time to bring in
right.
that kind curiosity.
Yeah. Okay, I have a crazy question for you. When I was and I've talked with this about people. I've talked with people about this, and I'm not the only one who has this. Ever since I was a teenager and I saw Jaws, every time I jump off a diving board and I'm coming up, I'm looking in the corners of the pool to see if there's something coming after me every single time. This is since I was like 12 years old.
Mm.
That's pretty common, right? Like, just the
When you,
unknown or, you
yeah,
know
absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, it's funny you say that because I've never completed a swimming lesson as a participant when as a child. I was sent to swimming lessons too. Never finished one because I knew they kept the sharks under the platform and I was no dummy. I wasn't going to come off the platform. So yeah, kids have these great imaginations, which are wonderful and great. And some of it sticks with us as adults. And you do have to check it out. I do, as I said, I do open water swimming. And so I swim with people who are quite good swimmers, right? They are quite good at the mechanics of swimming, but they have to deal with this mental part that we worry about things that may or may not be true. And so, yeah, I mean, I've had to do it too, of to teach myself this is my brain talking.
Right.
Let me feel into my body. Is there actually a shark biting me? No. Okay. I just checked my body. I felt around my body. No. And then it's, oh my gosh, something touched me. Okay. Something touched me.
Mhm.
Have I been bit? No. 99.9%
Right.
of the time. I mean, shark attacks do happen, but they're extremely rare, right? So
Apparently you
it's
can punch them in the nose too, I heard.
okay.
If you punch them in the nose, they'll leave you alone,
All right.
assuming they're coming straight on. But anyhow,
Yeah,
go
yeah,
on.
that's what I'm thinking. I'm like, but yeah, so it's being in this practice of our brain tells us, and this happens outside of the water too. Your brain tells you all the time about terrible scenarios, and us learning how to counter that, not with arguments, other mental arguments, but how do I slow down into the body, use my senses to get true information,
Yeah.
and it actually activates a different part of your brain. So we do, this is what I teach people in coaching, outside of the water, is how often we need to get ourselves out of that thinking part of our brain into the feeling part of our brain. And it
Mhm.
makes a huge difference in the quality in our life to do this. I know I use it around lots of things. I'm thinking at the moment, politics, when my brain goes down the road of politics, we don't even have to talk which side of politics. Everybody knows
Right.
how contentious it
Everybody
is.
knows everybody's upset. Yeah.
Everybody's upset. And yeah, like how many times do I go on a walk, and I realize I'm not feeling good on my walk because I'm in politics, right? And so I use a practice to get myself to pause and see, is it actually an argument in my head that's useful? Am I trying to work something out? Or am I just making myself feel bad? And how I change that.
Yeah, we
Mm,
want to find meaning in things. That's why if you see a little shadow in the water, immediately you're like, "What's the story? I gotta put together there's a shark, it's gonna get me." Like, you know what I'm saying? So, I love
absolutely.
what you're saying about, like, slowing down enough to take actual, and sometimes we don't have the ability to take actual evidence because 'cause they're stories that are so displaced from us, right? But slow down to where you're taking physical or, whatever evidence you have to slow down the speed of that reaction.
Absolutely.
Really?
And I would say even in things when you talk about a story that's real distant to us that you might want to evaluate. I think it's very important for us to have a practice, or it can be very useful to do the slowing down piece for yourself, to get yourself into that other part of your brain and then go and investigate about, if we're using politics as an example, investigate what that political message is that's coming out, right? To be able to say, okay, hang on. You can be much more logical, evaluative, trust your source, find your sources, that sort of thing, versus just being in the guttural reaction to the top line, headline.
Yeah. And if we weren't using tools to find information that were specifically designed to make us reactionary, that would be a lot better.
Yes, yes,
Yeah.
absolutely. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, 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 yeah. We are inundated with nervous system stimulators. And the better we get, this is where, yeah, back to this idea of New Year. If you want something for your New Year, something to help you with nervous system regulation, right? Learn to swim in a way that is helping you with nervous system regulation. Learn to sew or knit or
Mhm.
ride a bike or whatever, these things that are helping. You can use them to help you learn to navigate your nervous system regulations so that when you do engage with all these things that are causing us to buzz as they're intended to, you have some support for
I'm taking a minute here to let you guys know about a new project I'm working on called Red Nose Corporate. We are running workshops to help develop communication and cohesion in corporate teams based on exercises from improv and physical theater, aka Red Nose Clown. It has some silly aspect to it, but it does have a lot of mindfulness and empathy kind of training in it as well. But look out for that at rednosecorporate.com.
yourself.
What do you think about cold water exposure?
Yeah. So this is something that I do. I don't teach it per se, but it's something that I have a personal practice of. And I do think it's a wonderful practice. I do think it's something, I put a big asterisk on, excuse me, as it becomes more and more popular, because I think we're going to start to see more and more injuries around it or problems around it, because as we do, we start getting competitive. When I see things that are like, how long did I do it? And you need to be in for long periods, stuff like that. So, you actually don't have to be in cold water for very long to have the physiological
Like
effects.
2 or 3 minutes, right?
Exactly, yes. So you don't have to be in for long. You actually want to go in gently too. The whole like this time of year we see polar plunge where people are just like plunging themselves in. You do have to be careful of that. That can instigate a heart attack. Like
Especially if you're mixing it with drinking, by the way.
so talk about nervous system dysregulation, like you're all over the place. So you do have to be careful about it. I used it a few years ago. I did once a week for 52 weeks, right? Getting into the cold water after being a person who hated cold water, hated it. Like this the whole thing. I combined it with a breath work practice to again regulate that nervous system. But what I found that I loved about it was to be able to practice focusing the body and the mind in order to do it. You can, I think people who just like jump in, they're practicing disassociating their body and their
Yeah.
mind, make themselves do it. You're still going to get the physiological benefits of the cold on the body. But I think you're missing an opportunity to treat yourself well and you can go further with it. You can go deeper with it.
Mhm.
Practice this body mind regulation.
That's so fascinating. So my cousin, who's a Canadian, swam the English Channel.
Mm.
And for his practice, he used to go and dip in lakes in Toronto in the middle of the winter. And he got some attention for that because, yeah, he was like you're talking about, like that kind of focus and maybe just a customizing more than disassociating. I mean, disassociating is a dunk, but a full swim, that's like another.
It is another level. And to be able to do something, I mean, he's training, right? He's building
Yeah.
up to it.
Oh, yeah.
He's watching his system and his body to see how it's responding. Not everybody who trains to do something like the English Channel does it. People who, or they and that's okay. Like I
Right.
want to like celebrate that people who train and work towards these things and make a sage decision to say no at some point. We need to celebrate that as well.
Yeah. There's back to
That
the kindness, right?
yes, yes, yeah. We'd rather you go out and do big, strong adventures with
Mhm.
the ability to say no.
Yeah.
This, yeah, is real trusting. Yeah, I've got a kid who's out doing. He does long distance hiking, and so he's out in New Zealand right now and just starting. And so that's like the faith that I put in him. Like, will you say no? You need to be able to say no to certain parts of it, right? Don't be so tied to getting that entire 3,000 miles done in a particular way. The idea is doing the 3,000 miles, but doing it in a safe, responsible way, um, so that you can enjoy it and live to tell it and do another 3,000 mile hike if you want
Do you
to.
think that's easier as a solo person than you think that that kind of quells the competitiveness, or do you think that it's more likely that you're gonna be, again, like we talked earlier about, like, being harsh with yourself like, which approach do you think it leaves more space open for an actual evaluation of the situation aside from just being like, I got to accomplish this? In your opinion, obviously.
Yeah, I mean, really, I think what matters the most is your internal and external support team, who you choose to have around you. The son that's hiking and my spouse, they're both firefighters, and there are fire teams that they are happy to be around because the focus is on how do we safely do this as a team together? And there are fire teams that they don't want to be on because the focus is how can we macho our way through it and, be the biggest bravado person on the team. And they're like, I'm not interested in doing that. I'm interested in us going in and getting the job done together as a team and looking out for each other. In those situations, I think that is where, yeah, you you can have an element of fun competitive edge, competitive challenge to inspire, but you also have that sort of team camaraderie that is looking out though and wanting and saying success is making it through, not making it through at any cost. So I think it really, yeah, who you surround yourself with and internally too, your own internal
Right.
family of voices, right? What you choose to surround yourself with there, and then literally the people. So I think that makes more of the difference than whether or not you're doing it solo or as a
I
group.
see. I see. Yeah, I mean, the benefit of having a trusted group is that you can do that kind of practice we talked about where you shrink back from being reactionary and evaluate the actual situation with the support of people that can help you evaluate the actual situation and that you trust to help you evaluate that
Yeah,
effectively.
absolutely. Because
Yeah.
different people are going to see different aspects and different pieces of it. And so everybody gets to contribute that. And so in that way, a team can be very beneficial that different people will see different things. But yeah, it's as long as everybody's in that team environment, right? To be supportive of each other versus
Yeah.
putting down or always trying to one up each other, having it be a competition as if that's always the golden thing.
Yeah, yeah, gotta find a team that works with your mindset for sure.
Hmm. Absolutely.
So how much of how many classes do you teach in person? Because you said you had people fly in to do classes with you as well.
We do. It's not just me, it's my great team.
Yes, of course. I meant you as the business.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So we teach year round. We teach our core program is called the Foundations program, and so that's an 18-hour course that gives people the foundational information, both the mental and the physical steps around what does it really mean to swim and have this body mind connection when you're in the water. So we probably teach two or three of those each month, and move people through those and then continue their development from there where how much they want to keep working with it and keep going and then we have fun things like let's go to Hawaii together and we'll do this body mind connection where you really want with the turtles.
Oh my gosh, that's amazing. How
Yeah.
often do you do that?
So we go every other year. So our next one's in 2017 or 2017
2027.
7. So right now is like the perfect time for people to start and like save that money and get their swimming journey going and yeah, and then have that capstone adventure in Hawaii.
I love it. It's like a built-in reward.
Yes, yes.
Yeah, fantastic. Is there anything else I mean, this has been a fantastic conversation. Is there anything else that we would need to cover or do you want to kind of address?
I mean, I just really encourage people. I mean, I think I've gone over, I just can't say it enough, especially at this time of year where we're focused on goals and new things and whatnot, is just give yourself so much love and compassion and cheering the micro steps. This is a piece that I think we're really good at seeing, like, what are the big chunks? What are the big steps? But we don't really know until you're in the minutia of trying something, what the micro steps are. And when you start doing something, I mean, like for learning to swim, it's the micro step of being willing to put on a swimming suit, being willing to go investigate the times that the pools are open, and then celebrate those steps. Actually mentally give yourself, and back to this, like, going, not being paralyzed with fear, but feel the physiology of, yes, not just like, okay, you did it. Like, physiologically, you want to stimulate your system
Mhm.
to celebrate these micro steps, because that's telling your brain and your body, this is what we want. This is what we're getting. This is the reward of the effort to try something new and develop something new, be it swimming or whatever. I'm learning to play the harmonica, yeah, doing different adventures. I do all these different adventures. They help me then for something like, I've overcome my fear in going to the doctor. Engage in fun things so you can also do those big things that are important.
That's fantastic, and it brings back to, like, you're your own worst critic, right? And I think it's part of because I've seen a lot of this content out for the new year where people are like, "Set your goals for 2026 and write down your 5 most important goals." But the problem is if you just write down your goals, that's just a wish list, right? Until you annotate what are the 25 steps I need to actually accomplish this goal. And I think what happens with me anyway, I'm sure it happens with many other people, is that I don't even bother to write out the 25 steps, or I get 5 into the 25 steps and I go, "Oh, this is so many steps," because I haven't celebrated any of those little steps like you're talking
Yeah.
about. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, celebrate that you're willing to look at the steps. That is a piece of it. I think that I did kind of recoil when you said, write down the 25 steps, because one of the things you do have to be careful of is the brain goes into overwhelm very easily, which is exactly what
Yes.
you described.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, maybe you do let yourself do the 25 steps, or you write down enough steps to get yourself started. Okay, this is the thing that I could see. This is the one thing to get started. What's the simplest one next step that I can stay in my body for? Yeah. I was looking around like, is my harmonica here? Yeah.
Good
Usually my
example.
harmonica's on my desk, right? Like, put my harmonica next to the computer,
Yeah.
doing online classes, right? If my harmonica's not here, it makes it harder to, take a
Totally,
2-minute
totally,
break.
yeah. Yeah, I heard someone talking with along the same line, they talk with somebody who's like an expert in I think he wrote Atomic Habits, the guy who wrote
Mm,
Atomic Habits, and he was talking about very similar to what you're talking about. Say you wanna work out every day, if you get in your car and drive to the gym and you're there for 5 minutes and you leave, that still counts. That still counts,
absolutely.
and that's also being kind and being realistic with yourself and taking in your actual experience in a very balanced nervous system nurturing way to make a decision instead of saying, "Hell or high water, get it high water."
Absolutely. No, my once a week for 52 weeks of getting in the cold water, sometimes that did just look like putting my feet in the water.
Yeah,
Got down to the beach, put my feet in the water, stood there. It's probably just as cold standing there in my swimsuit,
right.
and said, "You know what? I got here. This is good. I'm celebrate that." And what I found is when I did that is the next time I was like, "Ah, okay, that was kind of disappointing actually when I walked away. I actually kind of did want to do more, but that's okay.
Mhm,
I'm back here next week." And it did the next week. I came in with this, I celebrated, and I want to get in more. It felt like less of a hurdle the next week to get in, because
mhm,
I had allowed myself to be myself. I didn't
and
allow
allowed
myself off
yourself
the
to
hook.
have pardon?
I was gonna say I didn't allow myself off the hook, right? Like, I was still accountable to it, and, yeah, celebrated what I was there for.
And allowed yourself to have the experience of being like, "I'm gonna be kind to myself," and also, I feel a little disappointed that I didn't do more.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, I can have both of those things. Yeah.
Oh my gosh. It's been so fantastic to talk with you, Corey. How can people find you?
Yeah, so on social media, those buzzy places, want to be on there, is Calm Within Adult Swim. So that's our handle in social media. And then adultswimlesson.com if you want to check out that Hawaii trip.
Fantastic. It's awesome to talk with you. I hope you have a amazing I can't say sunny. I was going to say fluid day.
A fluid day. Actually, I'm wishing not for a fluid day with the rain that we've been having lately. Let's put a
Yeah,
pause from that fluid.
that's
No,
right,
that's it.
Seattle.
Yeah.
Anyhow,
No,
it's been
it's a
great
good
to
thing.
have you.
Thank you.
Thanks for watching today. I'm glad you watched the whole thing. If you could do us a favor, it would help so much if you hit subscribe. It helps give us just a little boost to keep this podcast going. Thank you.